Hey y'all, it's me all in good fun. Saturday morning, January 17th. I'm going to do something a little different than what I usually do. I'm just going to chit-chat a bit. Now, I'm still in my bathrobe because I have a really bad cold. I'm waiting for the Instacart to show up with some Tamiflu or something. Anyway, so here's my tea that I'm drinking my favorite tea, sitting quietly, reading the news on my phone. So I like to get my news sometimes from Le Monde. That's the French newspaper. I have an app on my phone, and the reason I do this twofold. One, I like to keep my French up because, you never know when you're going to need to be living in a country where maybe you have to speak French, if you know what I mean. And number two, I like to get more unbiased news because here in the U.S. we have the far right news, Fox, and we have the far left news. And there's not much in between. So when I read Le Monde, it just is just an accounting of what's going on. So today I want to talk about Denmark, tariffs, trade, and then we can talk about something fun like the Epstein Files. So I read an article all about how the occupier of the White House wants to annex Greenland because we need it for our safety and protection. I don't know where he gets that from, pulled from his butt. Anyway, so then it says how Denmark, which by the way, Greenland is a sovereign territory of Denmark. Denmark's a NATO country. Denmark is not any too happy about this whole threat. And basically, the whole EU is saying, we're part of NATO, and in Article 5 of NATO, it says if a country attacks a NATO nation or territory, we have an obligation to come to that nation or territory's defense. So all these countries are saying they're going to come to the defense of Greenland. They're lining up their troops to send them to Greenland, waiting for the attack from the United States. Even Germany sent troops. I heard they already sent them. Imagine living in a world 80 years after World War II. You go, yay, the Germans are coming. Anyway, so that's going on. So Trump, he's so pissed off that the EU isn't playing with a little BS game that he put out a tweet in the middle of the night, I'm going to put 10% tariffs on the EU starting February 1st. And I think the EU's response to that is who gives a rat's ass? I mean, the newspaper didn't say that, but here's the thing. The EU has already entered into agreements with China, just like Mexico has and Canada has. Everybody's going, whoops, around the United States and going straight to China. So when all of our soy farmers are struggling in the United States, can't sell their goods because everybody's buying it from China, oh well, too bad, so sad. It's all because of the tariffs. So when you put tariffs on the EU, all you're doing is helping China. But anyway, they own the White House. He's too stupid to realize that. Or maybe he does realize it. But the whole point is he's doing all of this stuff as a distraction. We'll get to that in a minute. I want to talk another minute about trade. Yesterday, a really big deal happened. An agreement was signed between the Mercosur countries, that would be Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. You can say Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, if you want to pronounce it American style. Anyway, those four countries in South America entered into a trade agreement with the EU that makes them a free trade zone. They can trade freely with the EU. And Brazil, of those four countries, produces about 60 or 70% of the world's coffee. So might be hard for the United States to get coffee because they'll be freely trading with the EU. Imagine that. Anyway, all of this is happening, and I believe it's all a big old distraction because the occupier of the White House doesn't want us talking about the Epstein Files. Epstein Files. I'm saying it a bunch of times so you don't forget about it while you're thinking about Greenland and kidnapping the president of Venezuela and stealing the Nobel Peace Prize from Machado. Don't forget the Epstein Files. We know Trump's all over them, and it's taken months and months and months to try to redact his name out. We know he told Marjorie Taylor Greene, if you release those files, it's going to hurt my friends. In other words, his friends who are pedophiles. So he's a pedo protector, along with pedo protector Pam Blondie of the Department of Justice, who's trying to block the files from getting released, saying Congress doesn't have a right to make them release the files. And that's what's going on. I think all this other stuff is just noise to keep from releasing the Epstein Files. And that's all I have for the moment, but I'll be back. Have a beautiful day.